Aloha everybody, how are you doing today? It's Merissa Indigo, and today we're going to talk about one of my favorite subjects. What is ascension really? I took some notes because I wanted to try to be very organized in my presentation to you guys today. So I apologize, some of my videos I don't take notes, and I would like them to be more clear and organized for you guys. So here we go. So for me personally, ascension is the process of integration in this lifetime. I see so many people writing comments or asking questions or getting frustrated. When is this going to happen? How come this hasn't happened for me yet? I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Well, you're not doing anything wrong, but one thing that I haven't seen very many people who are putting content out there share is that this process is all up to you. So there's no magic date, there's no magic pill, no shortcuts. That's all ego traps. It's all bullshit. There are a few people that I just love dearly that I think are putting out very accurate and representative content. And again, that's my opinion. But to back up this evidence, if you will, based introspective, you could definitely check out Olunash 9D. She's incredible. You could definitely check out Lisa Transcendence Brown. Let's see, Asia, Andromeda are some of the people that come to mind that are actually legitimately talking about this all being up to the individual instead of just giving people kind of false hope, if you will. So it's all up to you. You want to ascend, then you need to prioritize yourself and your integration 100%. And one of the things I wanted to share about this is, it can get kind of intense when we say to prioritize your soul, to prioritize trust and integration along this path, because there is a lot to up level, if you will, a lot to shift. But you don't have to just do it cold turkey overnight. For instance, money, job, relationships, all of these things are going to come under your magnifying lens of self-introspection as you start to assess what is true and what is not true for you. But that doesn't mean, I have to go quit my job tomorrow because it's not in alignment. You'll be guided in the process. It doesn't have to have a crisis or desperation or anything unpleasant about it. Really, when I say prioritize, it's prioritizing listening to your soul and starting to establish your own internal guidance, your own internal GPS. We have teachers, they lead us to a certain part where we can then fly out of the nest as little birds and take off and fly on our own and have our own guidance. So that's one of my objectives, to help give you guys tools to kind of integrate and come more in touch with yourself, and then you'll be able to find answers for yourself and integrate your own modalities for yourself. And in turn, once you've reached a certain point where you feel ready and comfortable and guided, you share this wisdom with others so that they can also activate. So it's kind of like lighting a torch, and we just keep lighting up the grid, lighting up one another one by one, right, all across the planet. So ascension is the process of integration. It's clearing out distortions within, false programming, i.e. our belief systems, unplugging from the false AI matrix, unplugging from duality. So initially we're going to start assessing in our life, where am I holding beliefs that are limited, that are dual in nature, because that's all part of Maya, the illusion. The yogis called the matrix Maya, which is the grand illusion. So the process of ascension can also contain clearing and releasing ancestral trauma. So when you start to assess your life, of course, you're going to start looking at, your nuclear family, your genetics. What did you come in with? Your parents, your siblings, family members, and all kinds of karma. And depending on your genetic lineage, all races here on Gaia have karma. I guess the most extreme and heart-wrenching example would be the indigenous populations here all over the earth, and thank God we still have, indigenous people left, right? There's so much devastation with that, but every single race, every single background has a story where there is karma. So these are all very important things. If you're male, there's male karma, right? As you're integrating and becoming the divine masculine. If you're female, then there is, the matrilineal karma. So we have paternal and maternal karma in the genetic bloodlines that we all have to process as well. And where that can start most immediately in our family is forgiveness and compassion, and starting to witness, where do we have triggers with our family? That's a big one, because it's showing us ego identity with the nuclear family. So that's just one example. So ancestral trauma, ancestral karma, that's a big one. That's a whole other video in itself that we will dive into together. But I just want to list it because the process of ascension is vast. We are infinite and complex and fucking beautiful and magnanimous. And we have a lot of pieces that we need to pull in and to own, right? And to transcend, to become whole again. So in the process of ascension, we're moving in our mind state and our lens, our perceptions of consciousness, from a compartmentalized, linear, limited 3D consciousness, right? This is the duality. It's an imprisonment. We're moving from this to a multidimensional or higher frequency thinking. So we're going to talk a little bit about the basic dimensions. We'll go into higher dimensions at another time, and there are other people who specialize more in the higher dimensions of 6D and above. So we're going to keep it basic today, just to kind of start to give you guys something to chew on, okay? So 3D, as we know it, is the hell realm. It's prison. It's the karma zone. It's total unconsciousness, and it's ego identity. 4D is bardo. It's transitioning in our awakening to remembering. We start to get bits of pieces. We might have dreams, we might have visions, we might have just this, sudden desire that's just like on the verge of just total obsession to learn something, to uncover something. We start to clear. We're transcending. We're starting to witness ourselves. We're starting to witness, oh, I have a reaction to this. Or, oh, I seem to have a bad habit of this. And I hate to use the word bad and good. Words are very limiting, but you understand what I'm saying here. It's what serves you and what does not serve you. And when I'm talking about what serves and does not serve, I'm not talking about, selfish or me. I'm talking about what is in your best interest, truly. You know that at a soul level. So let's see. So we're witnessing a lot of our components. We're witnessing ourselves in other people. We're starting to delve into self-awareness, like, oh, I noticed that I feel very uncomfortable in big crowds. And, oh, I've noticed that I can feel the room when I walk in. I've noticed that I've always had, I can hear things before they happen, or I can see things before they happen, or I dream things before they happen. You're going to start to come into your clairs. And sometimes, you already know these your whole life, even when you're mostly residing in the 3D realm of consciousness. So another thing I wanted to cover is, regardless of which dimension you're currently mostly residing in, there are threads, if you will. The dimensions are not just hard and fast cut layers of frequency. There are threads of them that we exist in all at the same time. So it's just a conscious choice to keep coming back. So in the 4D, we're starting to remember. We're starting to discover. We have a lot of questions. We're starting to dig for answers. We're starting to lose a sense of identity. And this is where the bardo realm can be, it can be scary. This is where the dark night of the soul can come in, as we're starting to realize that everything we thought was true is not true about ourselves, about reality. What is the nature of reality? We start asking questions like this. These are the deep questions. Let's see. So you start to question reality. You start to learn about your aspects. So you start to realize, like, oh, I really love Saint Germain, or, oh, I just really love Mary Magdalene, or I really love Yeshua, or, various different ascended masters, archangels, what have it, the fairy realm. You start to become curious, and you start to realize you have a seriously deep and palpable, feeling it in your bones, in your soul, resonance or love for these different aspects. And you start to learn that maybe they're part of you. You start to begin to embody heart-centered living, because you're starting to see the differences in when we operate from ego and how that feels, and how when we predominantly operate from that space of consciousness, what is presented to us or mirrored to us, if you will, in the outside experience. So we start to become players in the game, the virtual reality game of life on earth, and starting to see the differences between, oh, I reacted that time, versus, oh, I held it and I witnessed it and this was the outcome, right? So less reactivity and more perceiving and more responding with ability to various situations. Let's see. So yes, like I was saying, we're starting to embody heart-centered living. We might be acquiring tools along the way, you know, different kinds of yoga, meditation, shamanic paths, maybe priestesses. I mean, there's all different, you know, things that can start to activate you. Mystery schools, as you go along the way. You'll find deep resonances with, you know, different callings. So you're also learning more about your ancestry, and you're clearing karma on all levels. So that's really what 4D is all about, is that we're witnessing and working through karma on all levels. So like I said, you know, 4D can be very disorienting because we're in between. And a way that I would really like to describe my personal experience of this is that you've got maybe 1 foot in 3D, and then you've got 1 foot in 5D and above, and you're kind of in between. And it can be very uncomfortable, you know, because things aren't lining up, and you can feel that, and it's like everything is kind of up in an upheaval, and it's like, oh, I don't feel like I have, you know, something to stand on that's stable, what's real. It can be very disorienting, and that's kind of ties into the void space video that I did. You could really use those tools from the void space video and using that as a technology for your ascension, rather than feeling just, you know, lost and wanting to check out. So you can also feel bipolar in your consciousness as your ego is losing grasp and you're integrating your higher self. So that's kind of another component of this feeling rocky, you know, being a foot in each world, if you will, because in some aspects of your life, it's easier to come from your higher self. And then in others, it's more challenging and more difficult. And that's where the work has to be done, where you're seeing like, oh man, my parents trigger me so bad. You know, like our parents and our family are some of the best teachers because they're the most difficult, right? Let's see here. So you're losing grasp. The ego is losing grasp, excuse me. And another whole thing about the bardo and the dark night of the soul of 4D is that as the ego starts to lose control, it will feel this and it will try to throw you under the bus because it fears annihilation. What it doesn't understand is it's not going to be annihilated. It's just going to take a backseat to the soul. So the ego is put there. It is your, you know, your trickster energy put there to help to sabotage you, and it will rationalize things that do not serve you, like, oh, it's okay, you know, keep having that drink, or you know, keep checking out with that TV show that has like really toxic content, or there's all kinds of ways. I mean, I could go on forever about that. You know what I'm talking about. So the ego will try to get in your way, and that will create a lot of internal battles. So the battle zone really becomes an internal process, and that's where you become the witness and you say, oh wow, shit, you know, I really see this coming up, or this craving is coming up for me, or I'm really tempted to do this, you know. And it's just kind of taking a moment, taking a pause, taking a breath before reacting with whatever that is. Thinking, is this really in my best interest? And having that ability to pause and not react is evidence of the soul taking more of a predominant grasp of your life. Because really what's happening right now, the reason things are so intense right now is the light codes that are hitting the earth and all the frequencies, all the different galactic alignments, all the different planetary aspects, they are pushing us. There is no hiding anymore. So if you're doing the ostrich thing, you're probably really fucking uncomfortable and just feeling like you're in hell. You got to pull your head out of the sand and face it, because it's not going away. Your soul is going to pull you kicking and screaming to your higher you, to your dream life. So be willing to go through the work. Don't run, don't hide. Be willing to go through the work and face yourself and face your fears in the bardo. You're going to do it. It's not going to be for forever, and it's never as bad as you think. It's not fun, it's not comfortable, but it's never as bad as you think. I'm telling you from experience here, okay? So we're also, you know, as we say, we're integrating more of our higher self, and we're beginning to achieve self-mastery, which is the ability to pause in that moment and say, oh, I could go there, but I know it's going to happen. Or I could go here, and that feels really fucking good. Okay, so you want to go with what feels good. And I'm not talking about ego feels good, you know, momentary satisfaction, which you know you're going to pay for later. You can sense that. You can feel what's going to come after the initial, you know, hot button moment of pleasure. Well, are you going to pay for it? Versus the true, what is really going to be beneficial for you. You're starting to resolve triggers with this. So all of these things kind of have to go with one another. So we're going to talk about 5D now. Okay, so 5D, this is the bliss codes, okay, paradise codes. And I want you to really feel what I'm saying. You can feel the frequency shifts in the different things I'm talking about here. So you're no longer a victim. You're a conscious creator, and you're owning it. all aspects of your reality line up with your soul. Okay, think about Lemuria, right? Paradise, heart-centered living from the soul. A purity of being, pure presence, you bring this with you. And people, you can feel it in how people respond to you, how animals respond to you, how nature responds to you, so many ways. We'll talk more in depth on that. You're engaged in heart-centered living from your soul, so your heart is open. You've got a purity of being. You're living on purpose, right? So you find out, what's my purpose? You find out a lot of that in 4D, and also as you're transitioning from 4D into 5D, the purpose starts to come in, because we have to clear a lot of distortion of identity before we can find our purpose. So one of the things that, we always have to tell you is buckle up, because when you say you're going to commit to your soul and you're in it to win it, that's great, and you're going to win it, but everything might shift. And you have to be okay with that. You have to trust, even if it's painful. That's ego. The ego finds things painful. So you can grieve, but you need to go through the firewalk, if you will, to go to what your soul is lining up for you, and you have to trust it. This is where that blind trust comes in. This is where you're in the void space, in the dark, and you got nothing but your Black Panther, and maybe a little torch, maybe a teddy bear sometimes. And you just keep going, because your soul is going to give you everything you've ever wanted, and a life that is so beautiful and so magical. It's beyond perhaps what you conceived in your earlier identities. Maybe you always knew what you wanted to be and do. Maybe not. But part of the stripping away of the false identity is the true purpose. You're going to find that purpose. Living in service, 100% prioritizing your purity of vibration from your soul. Full embodiment of soul and your higher aspects. Your heart is open most of the time, and then eventually open all of the time, because when we're free from all of our distortions, we have a completely open heart. The only reason we close down is because we're having a negative response to something. We're not living at 0 point in the moment, pure presence, observing from the soul, which is a beautiful, pure, calm, relaxed, just completely loving and soft energy of observation. There is no association with anything that you're observing. If you're having a reference from the past, that's a clue to you that that's ego. If you're assuming like, oh God, if I open my heart, this is going to happen, that's coming from the past, which is no longer relevant in 0 point. So you start to learn about 0 point as a technology, which you're consistently creating from this moment now. Now, it's all we have, right? You're free from judgment and opinions, which is ego, and all is sacred. Everything becomes sacred to you. How you handle your business, how you handle your money, how you share, how you talk to people, everything that you do, how you smile at other people as you walk down the street. Everything becomes sacred. Everything is a reverence. These are the paradise codes. And it takes a lot, we have to peel a lot of the layers off before we can start to see this, but it is, for me, the ultimate truth. It's the bliss of being, right? It's one of my tattoos is the mantra, Sat Chit Ananda. And for me, when I was pregnant with my daughter, it was a huge part of my awakening journey, because it helped me to embody the divine feminine. And what does it mean to be, a mother and a divine feminine being that is creating life and bringing life forward? Sat is I'm here. Chit is you start to think about I'm here. What the fuck does it mean? I don't know. So you could see how it's 3D, 4D, 5D. Ananda is the bliss of self-realization. When you realize the magic and the majesty and the magnanimous beauty that you are as a soul incarnate in a body here. There are so many millions of souls lined up, outside of the entry points of Gaia that want to come in and have a body, and not everyone fucking makes the cut. So what I really want you to understand is you were made for this. You signed up for this. You will begin to remember more and more and more as you prioritize your path. So I guess where I'm going with that is so many want in, not everyone gets in. You're here because you're special and you're magical and you have a lot to share and to bring forth, and you can do it. So you need to, have that's your little cheerleader moment there. So one of the other things, just to wrap this up, so a lot of the time, I said this before, there is no hard or easily defined transition or jump from one dimension to the next. Often there are threads of each dimension. They intersect as we integrate. So an example of this could be, maybe you've always known your purpose, but you have issues with money. You've got the lack consciousness. So that lack consciousness is a 3D construct, but your life purpose is like 6D, 12D and beyond, divine template of service, or things you want to do to heal the soil, just beautiful things that are of service. So you could have, remnants that are still in 3D that are deeper error programming that are going to take more work to clear and to bring into alignment. And you could have some that are higher. So there's no just, oh yeah, I jumped in. That doesn't work that way. So I really hope this has helped you guys. That's my take on what is ascension really. It's integration, and it's a process, and you have to be compassionate. You need to practice a lot of self-care, listen to your body, eat whatever foods it's telling you to eat, and just keep opening and keep breathing deep and keep having fun. And we're all here for each other. So that's what's so awesome about technology, that we can help one another. So let me know if you have any questions, reach out. And I really hope this helps. And I got a lot more content coming. Like I said, just the other day, it was just like, so I'm trying to keep up with it and organize it so that I can share. So thank you so much, guys. And I hope you have a great weekend.